Before this episode of Breaking Bollocks, I just need to bring to your attention that during the process of recording, the MacBook decided it was just going to shut down, which hasn't happened before, but we thought that the call recorder software had saved the first part of the conversation, but it didn't. So we think it still makes sense, but you've probably lost about 15-20 minutes at the beginning of the conversation. We're awfully sorry, but please enjoy the rest of the episode. Thank you.
We're back. That is why I never get an Apple MacBook.
That's the first time. It's been a very rarely crashes.
So that's for all the.
We have lost all our save from Logic.
Are we recording again?
Yeah, I've got call recorder to automatically record calls, so whenever we connect.
Right. Okay.
Oh, so we said the matter of us is for training purposes, your call might be recorded.
Oh yeah, I should have said that, shouldn't I? And used in evidence against you.
Yeah.
Where were we? Anyway, sorry.
I was talking about
The Dutch Navy.
yes, migrants fighting for another country. So that is a thing that happened throughout history. So to cut that long story short, Paul, don't feel bad about that. That Britain has got a dubious history in that respect. It happens everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I expect the Germans are probably a little bit reluctant to. Well, no, I think they acknowledge their past. I think Britain needs to maybe be a bit more honest with itself about its past.
Yeah,
though.
there's still quite a lot of this idea.
I get the impression
heroism from it.
I get the impression that Germany are quite apologetic about a lot of the 20th century.
Yeah, I feel like though, whilst it's necessary to have that sort of attitude of that we shouldn't do this again, and these people obviously did something wrong, even though they're part of our history. We can't really be held responsible for the actions of our ancestors.
No. Now, that's an interesting one, actually. Yes. That often comes up with the, what are they, when people are campaigning for compensation.
Right.
For their, for the wrongdoing that was done to their ancestors.
Yeah.
Did you mention that on one of your podcasts? Is this with the Aboriginals?
Yes, that was on episode 6 of the Bollocks Report. Because we were talking about, compensation was going to be given to some Aboriginals.
Yep. But if talking about another example of migrants and immigrants, or whatever you want to call it, yes, the British people that landed there, they are actually the immigrants.
Yeah.
But they're running the show there now.
Right.
So
anyway,
yeah. That's basically the essence of Hamilton, isn't it? The musical is kind of talking about how pretty much, well, not everyone in America, but the vast majority of the population of America are descended from immigrants.
Yes.
Yeah.
And same with Australia, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
And New
Is
Zealand.
That not where all the British criminals were sent to?
Yeah. Botany Bay.
I would argue it should still be used as a prison camp.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I'm joking. Any Australians watching this?
Yeah, I don't know. I keep on to come back to what migration and immigration, what part it played throughout history
right.
It is as old as times. But one thing I think is that it enriches culture.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I think America's become so strong because it's taken on all these ideas in what's known as a melting pot of culture.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's weird that American nationalists... Can you stop fiddling with my toms? That American nationalists have this sort of idea of, oh, there's one American spirit. You have to be assimilated into American culture to be a true American. But really, American culture is not assimilating.
Yes.
New York's what it is because of Italians.
But then you often get that in built-up areas, don't you? I mean, it's probably no accident that the Deep South is probably where it's more intolerant. I mean, you know, when you look at the results of going back to the referendum in London, you know, that was probably the most Remain kind of area,
and it's one of the most multicultural
in England
cities in the world.
Yeah.
So you can see why. And I think London's a lot better off because of it.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, and I think there is a trend there, that is a common trend, is where a lot of different cultures decided to come together, or conglomerate, or just, how do you call that?
Melting pot.
Yeah. So that is why a city like London or countries like the US thrive. If you try very hard to keep every foreign or alien influence out, that is a nail to your that's a nail to your coffin.
But it is, going back to what Tony Blair was talking about, it is difficult not to just naturally have pockets of a particular nationality, you know, forming a community that then becomes more isolationist and less integrating.
Yes. But...
I know I lived in Wembley for a while, and I know there was a high Irish population around there. Yes.
So yeah, what is Elvis singing about the ghetto? The ghetto is minority area as well, is it? Yeah. And what about London? You've got Chinatown there.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much that is.
Is it more of a commercial thing?
I would imagine so, because it's right next door to Soho, right in the centre. So I'm not sure if there would be that many people who actually could afford to live there, unless they were living over their own restaurant or business.
And now in New York, I think they have Little Seoul as well.
Little Italy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But come on, it is sort of a natural thing as well. Is if you've got, in the example of America, is if you've got the people from Italy, they had to go on a boat. They went on a boat together.
Yeah.
They landed there. So what do you do? To feel,
and it's nice as well to get the flavour of different cultures.
Yeah, I think
in different.
Oh yes.
It's just getting the balance, isn't it?
The important thing there is an idea of a different perspective being quite valuable.
Yes, but coming back to Tony Blair he wanted to break that down. Is that you've got the pockets of isolated cultures or people from a certain background. But it is sort of inevitable. The funny thing is even in Aberdeen, and that is absolutely ridiculous, because of the oil industry, there are a lot of Dutch people from Shell that were working as an expat there. They all lived in the same street.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake. And the men, they were working in the Shell offices, and the Dutch women, the Dutch consul in Aberdeen, they called them the Shellinas.
All right.
the wives of the Shell expats.
Yeah.
They formed a little group together. Is to do Dutch things.
Well,
together.
you get that in in resorts and towns in Spain, where you get the expat Brits, and they all live together, and they don't.
Yes.
A lot of them won't even speak Spanish where they are.
I I wonder if that sort of thing is like, why move to a different country then?
Yeah, so, but what I wanted to say is you're limiting yourself in doing that. I never signed up for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't move to Scotland to see more Dutch people. Come on.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with your point, Theo, is that, yeah, you get in touch with a different culture. And that makes, it makes life so much more interesting.
Because obviously, wherever you are in the world, you can have a different perspective because of the way that you grow up.
Yes. So
the sort of values that are taught to you, I suppose.
Yes.
And also, I think your geography can have quite a big influence on the sort of way that you view the world.
Yes. So yeah, what I want to say to you, Theo, is if you ever get a chance, I would encourage you to go and live and work abroad. I could have easily decided to stay in the village that I was born and raised.
Yeah.
Because that is where I took my first job. And that is all very comfy, and I would have been very happy. But I wouldn't have such a broad view on the world as I have now.
As the old adage goes, variety is the spice of life.
Oh, yes, yep, yes.
I think, in general, I would say to people who are wary of immigrants, because well, actually, this is going off on a tangent a little bit, but I find that a lot of places where you get service industries like, like cafes and shops and restaurants and stuff like that, I often find that the service you get from European, I say European, we are European, but again, that's the same thing, isn't it?
Britain has this weird idea of not being European just because we're an island.
Yeah.
But
that would be like Malta saying, "Oh, we're not European because we're in the middle of the Mediterranean." So
I find the service levels from, for instance, Polish staff to generally, but obviously there are exceptions, but generally I find them a lot more polite and a lot more helpful than the British-born ones.
Because it does take quite a lot of work to make enough money in the first place to immigrate to the UK, I guess.
I would say, what I was going to say was, though, I would encourage people who are anti-immigration to think very carefully about...
Stop fiddling with drumsticks. I think you should probably find time to actually spend with immigrants.
Me?
No, so you said
anti-immigrant people.
People that are anti-immigrant should be very careful.
Because because you may well at some point find yourself in a position where you are needing to be accepted somewhere else, especially with the world the way it is at the moment. Not just in terms of climate, but political change. You might feel that you're very safe where you are, but it doesn't take much to upset the balance. And if you find yourself in a situation where you want to be accepted somewhere else,
that is in a situation where you suddenly become the immigrant. But even for the people that are not in favor of immigration, even now take the situation that you don't have to move, but take all the immigrants out of the country. So that means that I have to go.
I mean, that's a lot of what people also forget is that whilst they're complaining, I mean, they won't say it I mean, at least most people won't say it openly, but really they're complaining about people with brown skin. And that's what they think of as an immigrant.
I think it depends where you are in the country, because there are a lot of people who... I mentioned Poles earlier. There is a lot of places that have a high Polish community in Britain where they are maybe blamed by the locals for taking the jobs, if you like. But I mean, there's the other side of the coin. And I mean, I was thinking about how much we've lost to the staff of the NHS recently over the last couple of years. But at the same time...
Well, that's another point.
We were kind of a talent drain from other countries before that. You know, there are countries that are losing all their talent because they were coming here to work.
There's another point with that is that we're probably going to have a shortage of fruit pickers if a lot of the European migrants aren't allowed to stay anymore.
Yes, yep.
And I think it was Andrea Leveson said that British teenagers should take up fruit picking jobs to replace them. And I just don't think, because I think a lot of us are quite arrogant, to be honest. We think, oh, we're above that sort of work.
Well, I wonder where you get that from when you see somebody like Andrea Leadsom saying that the teenagers should take those jobs. What about grown-ups taking those jobs? You know,
Hey, there is nothing wrong with teenagers doing that job. I did that when I was 15. This is my first
no,
job.
but what I mean is, it's a bit of an assumption on her part that it should just be teenagers that are doing it. You know.
But
yeah,
quite a lot of the people that do that.
But in that respect, she's got a point. Is because it is good for teenagers is to get out there and earn their living. Or not earn their living but know what it is to work to get some money.
I suppose it suits that kind of seasonal setup of jobs as well, because teenagers might often be in a position where they only need a job for a few months.
I did hear, I think it was on the Podcasts, which is No Cheese podcast. It's now stopped, but when she said that, one of them was saying that was their first job, and that as a teenager it gave them an appreciation for better jobs.
Yeah. Have we still got Pate?
Yes,
all right,
I'm here still. Yeah. No, I was watching Twitter, and this is the first thing. There was the mugshot of Nigel Farage. I should stay to the topic. Yep, good.
Getting back to the point of what a lot of people think of as immigrants, there's a different sort of. I think a lot of Eastern Europeans sort of get quite a lot of racism directed towards them.
Well, there is
quite a lot of time. Oh, it's the Romanians, or
but there is a section of the community up here that saw me and Suzanne as immigrants, if you like, to a certain extent. I know we're British, but there were and probably still are Scots who are a little uncomfortable with English people being here.
In that respect, I think it would have been harder for you, Paul, to settle yourself here than for me.
Right.
Because I think there are Scottish people, they have got a grudge against English people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think most of the time it's sort of jokingly, but sometimes it can be a bit too sort of uncertain.
Yes.
And quite often it's football that is the catalyst. Which is why I just don't bother with football anymore.
Yeah.
I don't bother because it's 90 minutes of boring shit.
You know, the thing is with me is I've never felt like not being accepted.
Well, I don't think the Dutch have ever been seen as a threat to the Scots, have they?
No, yeah, but nationality aside, I think for starters, the area in Scotland where let's widen that a bit. This is where we live.
Yeah,
we are less exposed to that.
Yeah, definitely.
I
would definitely say the Hebrides are quite like Scottish entrenched. Quite a lot of them still speak Gaelic mainly.
No, but for example, if we would have been in Glasgow, I think we would have a much harder time, and maybe even more for you English people. I
think that's similar to sort of the flack that some English people would still get in Ireland,
Northern Ireland. Yeah, because there's a whole unionist.
Well, because it's Catholic Protestant thing, and quite often
I was quite shocked to
Glasgow's more Catholic,
to hear about that from your previous primary school head teacher who'd grown up in Glasgow, where they were talking about the difficulties between. Well, she was saying how they used to call each other. I can't remember what they called the Catholics, but the Protestants used to be called proddies by the other side.
Yeah. Oh man, we are how long in is this, and we haven't mentioned religion yet. Is it a day? Well, Paul, again, is this you have to mention?
Yeah,
the
quite often
religion
I think
again.
with this immigration, it's the idea of they're bringing their culture, and by their culture they mean Islam.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's payback for the Crusades, isn't it?
Don't say it like that. I think Islam and Christianity are equally shitty, to be honest. But in terms of what the actual books preach, it's just a sort of different attitude, I guess, to those.
It's another way to divide people.
But I think it's the same sort of thing as why there might be racism towards Eastern European people, because before Germany got involved, quite a lot of the time they had quite high numbers of Jews.
Right.
And that idea of people coming from Eastern Europe, it was the idea of bringing
Well, out
Jews.
of interest, what is the official kind of religious status of Holland?
You keep mentioning Holland. This is the Netherlands.
Sorry.
Holland actually a region of the Netherlands.
The thing is the Netherlands is a Christian country.
Right.
It is a bit divided with Protestants in the north and Catholics in the south.
Right. Yeah.
So based on that, you would expect that there is a lot of rivalry, and
I know historically, particularly because of like William of Orange, the reason that Orange is associated with Protestants is him, basically.
Right.
So historically, the Netherlands is actually quite Protestant, but I'm going to guess
well,
the region why the south would be more Catholic is because generally Southern Europe is more Catholic.
I need to let's just turn slightly educational for a minute, and I'll admit my complete ignorance and ask for a simple explanation of what the difference is between Holland and the Netherlands.
Oh, okay, good. That's very easy. Holland is a region of the Netherlands.
So is that a similar kind of situation to Scotland and the United Kingdom, or is it less?
Yes. So when I first had my geography lessons, that big landmass across the North Sea, that was England for me.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I think that's like a lot of Americans just say England when they actually mean United Kingdom.
A lot of English people
so
do
that
as well.
that's exactly the same thing as this, but because it's the economic center and the political center of the Netherlands was always in Holland.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's many people that don't know that Wales exists.
And quite rightly, that pisses the Scots off, actually, when you hear English people.
And the Netherlands, we are opportunists,
right?
In every sense. If it is easier for us to say yes, we are from Holland, and try to make some money out of it, is yes, we are from Holland.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I want to go a few steps back. With being accepted as a migrant into a community. Yes, we were lucky with where we live that they are quite open in that respect.
Yeah.
But I think to make it work for you as an immigrant, it needs to come from yourself as well.
Yeah. Theo's trying to show me on a map.
I'm trying to get the division of the regions.
So
there are 13 provinces in the Netherlands. And
so has there ever been a country called Holland?
I think maybe back in the day it was Holland, but then we sort of, in the Middle Ages, or the 16th and 17th century, they joined forces.
Yeah, I'm going to guess it's like Germany used to be a patchwork of city-states, basically, and then joined under, I think it would be the First Reich.
Yes, because there was a threat from the south.
A very incestuous Habsburg family.
But that is the whole thing with the royal families. They are just all nutters because they are inbred so much.
There must have been a time that you could have been undrawn and quartered at the tower for saying that.
So, but okay, while Theo is looking that up, Paul, did you think that you have to work hard to get accepted and integrated in the northeast of Scotland?
No, I think it's got better since I first came here. I think it takes you by surprise. I mean, especially because the thing that struck me, I wasn't really into football that much anyway when I was down south. But I think if I had been, I think I would have known about the rivalry a lot more. Because the thing is, down there, you do tend to learn. I don't know whether the situation is the same up here. You do tend to learn British history more from the English viewpoint, if you like. So you don't really know about the antagonism that there is. I mean, I had a vague idea of historical antagonism with the whole Mary Queen of Scots thing and what have you, but certainly not so much about today.
But the funny thing is that you mentioned footballers is because the rivalry in football, what is going on in Glasgow, Celtic versus what is the other club
Rangers?
There? Yeah, Rangers is because this one club is Catholic and the other is Protestant.
But there's a big problem in football at the moment with racism, isn't there?
Oh yes, and that is nothing British. That is going on in the Netherlands as well. Ajax has always been associated with Jews as well.
I mean, obviously, you don't get as bad problems with other sports like rugby or cricket.
Yes, I don't know what that is with. I don't know why that is with.
There is something tribal about football supporters, isn't there?
Yes. Yep.
Especially when it comes to New Zealanders.
What has got football to do with New Zealand? New Zealand has nothing to do with football.
I'm talking about rugby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No. But I was saying that yeah, that's interesting though. You would think that seeing the tribal displays that happen with the rugby from New Zealand, that you would possibly encounter more serious problems with that, because we don't get those kinds of displays in football. But anyway, that's kind of getting away from immigration. But I suppose it is all tribalism, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't like this idea of, well, you were born on this particular piece of rock that has these imaginary lines drawn around it, so you are this. You have these things associated with you, even if they have nothing to do with you, because you're from this thing that we call a country.
Yes. But then I still don't know how much nature it is and how much nurture it is. But then when you grow up, in the end, it's your decision how much you want to associate yourself with that.
So looking at this, sorry, just going back to the Holland-Netherlands thing, Holland's actually a very small, or relatively small part of the Netherlands, isn't it?
Yeah, but the Netherlands in itself is not big at all. But no, indeed, this is Holland. The region is small, yes.
Yeah.
But for such a small region and for such a small country, is the influence we had and still have.
Yeah.
Yes, it's quite amazing. Yes, for such a small nation.
Some very good dancing around different tenses there. Well done.
What?
Your grammar there. You had and still have.
Speaking of
expert
New
use of
Zealand,
tenses.
Thank you.
Speaking of New Zealand, Old Zealand is actually also a province of. It's not called Old Zealand. It's just called.
No,
Zealand,
it is called Zealand. Yes, that is where I used to live. I lived in the Northern Brabant. That's in the south as well. That is next to Zealand. If you still have the map up of the Netherlands. Yep.
But there's so many places. I mean, there's evidence, isn't it? There's so many places that have "new" in their title.
New Amsterdam.
That's just proof that immigration has always been a part of.
That's a good point.
Society. I mean, New York's named after my birthplace's county town, county city,
and it used to be named after Amsterdam.
Yes.
Yeah. There's New Jersey, New South Wales, New Zealand,
Nova Scotia.
Yeah. So it's always been happening. Why is it suddenly becoming? Is it suddenly becoming a bigger issue now? Or are we becoming more aware of it like everything else with the internet?
I definitely think there's always been, I mean, especially more so in the past, because I particularly noticed that with, I mean, I know this is a work of fiction, but they did their research particularly on history because they wanted as much realism as possible. In Kingdom Come Deliverance, that's set in Bohemia, which is most of that today is in modern-day Czech Republic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the weird things, I mean, I doubt there's a lot of people that know about the history of the Czech Republic apart from Czech people.
I know that they were part of Czechoslovakia.
But that were two different that were two different countries.
Medieval history. And this is particularly more Bohemia.
There weren't two different countries when I was a kid, though. They were... Czechoslovakia was one country then.
Yeah, but in the bigger history, is as far as
so that
Theo says, it goes back. That was just a
is that an example of two countries that came together and then split again?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You get loads of examples of that, like particularly right now there's quite a lot of migration from Venezuela because of the political situation over there. Apparently, Colombia's taken in a lot of them because they have a very connected history. They used to be one country.
Yep. So yes, with what you said just before us, that is the whole thing. It is just lines on the map.
Yeah.
What a country is, but yet people always have the urge to identify themselves with something.
It's all about territory.
Yes, I've never felt. I've always said for a long time, even before Brexit, I don't necessarily feel Dutch. Yes, that is where I was born, and I'm proud of that. But I always felt like I'm a citizen of the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can get why, from what the world used to be with basically a patchwork of city-states, where if one place did decide to unify, they could basically destroy your culture if they wanted to, by burning down the one city you had.
I suppose
I can get why nations would form as more stable units. But from this point, we need to evolve to bigger unions.
It's a difficult journey to take from where we are now to fully global, because as different blocks emerge, they are perceived as a threat by other blocks. Like, for instance, America might be keen to see Europe break up because the European Union could potentially become a superpower, you know.
Well, I think it's the sort of thing of someone to combat all the sort of shit that they've just been free to do in the Middle East, kind of.
Yeah, and the people that are scared of, like globalization, that it will damage their identity. I don't get it.
No.
But you can still have different cultures.
Yes, and I think it is quite the opposite. Is that it makes it stronger, that it does recognized more because of I don't know because of what it is, but
identity should then surely become more accurately aligned with who you are rather than where you come from. Because I, in this area, identify a lot more with other musicians and or people in the dramatic arts than purely that people that are English, or in fact, I don't even really notice whether they're English or Scottish or
but surely
Dutch. You know,
it does make more sense that your identity were based on who you actually are rather than where you come from.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. So yes, if people say stop migration because of we want to protect our identity, nah.
It's kind of bullshit.
Bring more musicians in.
With the amount, like with the actual percentages of how many people are born here, like there's such a low percentage of actual migrants in the UK. It's like, how are you seeing? I think it's less than 2% of the UK is Muslim, as Christianity being wiped out by this.
I think Christianity is far more a threat from atheism.
Yeah.
Which I notice is now
the majority of the UK is now actually
Saudi Arabia has now
non-religious.
made that a criminal offence as well.
It's always been a criminal offence.
Yeah, it's up there with, I can't remember. No, terrorism, that's it. Atheists are terrorists, apparently. Officially now, in Saudi Arabia, atheists are terrorists.
I know under blasphemy laws there you can...
See what's happened.
I know the UAE... I can't remember which way around it is. The UAE and Saudi Arabia both execute atheists.
So it could be worse.
Blasphemers, as they put
it. Could be worse here. We see our immigration issues.
One uses firing squad, one hangs people.
We see our immigration issues as a problem, but it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that people aren't responsible for their government's actions either.
No.
Especially with this sort of...
Well,
I think a lot of people can get tied up in being actually anti-Semitic towards Israeli people because of the actions of their government and being assumed that they automatically support that. They can still feel proud about being Israeli, but that doesn't mean that they support the Israeli government and their actions towards Palestinians.
Anyway, should we be thinking about drawing to a close?
That was that a like, no, I want to carry on for a bit longer.
What more do you have to add, Firebolt?
I don't know, just don't be
a dick.
Yeah.
This is a lot of our podcasts tend to finish up that way. Just don't be a dick, just be nice to people.
We always sound really high. But it's as...
We would have been alright in the 60s.
It's as ridiculous as sort of saying, oh, well, that person's from the next county over, just because we put these lines up. Or the line could literally, and in some places it is, could literally be put in the middle of your street of where the border is, and that makes no sense. Especially in the Schengen area, quite often the actual border is nothing, and it's
it was in Northern Ireland, wasn't it?
Can I bring that back? If you want to bring that back to the Netherlands, there is a region. There is not far from where I was born. There is a part in the Netherlands where borders go literally through people's houses.
Through the houses. I was going to point out in Northern Ireland, there's a wall down the middle of the street.
In America. But
through someone's house.
My granddad has a DVD collection on the States, I think. And one of the things was, I think it's between Tennessee and Georgia. One of them's a dry state, but the state border goes between the two states. Right. So you can't actually take your drink into the bathroom where the dry state is. So you have to leave it at the side.
Why would you take your drink into the bathroom?
Yeah, but it's a weird thing where if you take a drink into that part of an actual building where it's actually a bar,
well, there was a
then
thing.
You're committing a crime.
There was a thing about the potential to be arrested on arrival in a country if you're carrying alcohol in your bloodstream in certain countries.
But I think it's great that in the Schengen area you can literally in the space of a day visit maybe 5 countries if you wanted to.
Well, we ended up, and I think this might have been, when was this? This would have been in the late 80s, early 90s. When did the Schengen area come about? Because I remember on a school trip where we were on tour to Spain, we drove back through France and the coach driver took a wrong turn and we were supposed to be going to Calais.
1985.
Right, it would have been after that then. We ended up in Belgium by accident.
Oh, it's here on mine, 1995.
We didn't even know. We stopped at a service area and we had, fortunately Belgium, a lot of places in Belgium take French francs. So, we...
Oh, established 1995. Yes, you're right, Theo. The area is named after the 85 agreement, but it came into force 95, yes.
Right.
But it covers so much of Europe. So basically you could go from Portugal and drive, I think, where's the furthest east place? maybe Estonia.
But that was another funny story as well.
Estonia probably.
There was I think I must have been about 21, and we drove down, 4 of us, my mum and a couple of friends and me, drove down through France to Spain, and we decided we were going to take about 24 hours over it instead of 11 hours to drive from Calais by avoiding all the toll roads. So we ended up going through the sort of mountainous area, which I think we have later found out was actually sort of Basque country, which was probably not a good idea on reflection. But we didn't even realise when we were crossing the border from France into Spain until this police guy came running out of a house at the side of the road and waving at the car to stop us, because basically the border was just a white line across the road. It was in the middle of a town there.
Made with flour.
It was literally just a painted white line, yeah.
Yes, yeah, oh.
It's like, what is that about? You shall not pass.
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh shit, I'm supposed to stop these people.
I think Europe's a perfect example of just how bullshit borders actually are.
Yes.
I mean, Britain had its sort of own idea of, we're an island, so we're not part of that because there's the English Channel between us. But
yes, and if you look at the map of the Schengen area, that is just, it does my head in, is because every...
Yeah, but Iceland's actually included in the Schengen area.
Yes, so, but what I want to say is every right-minded country in Europe signed up for it, but the UK thinks they are better, and they have not.
Especially going back to like the 60s, before we had the metric system, there was quite a lot of that sort of, but we used to rule the world, so we should have our own imperial system.
Oh yes. Oh man, and still people thinking when when did the coinage system change?
71.
Because if you look back at footage, that's just nobody bats an eyelid to. Oh well, we used to rule the world, so why are we taking this from people?
Yeah. Anyway, so migrants.
Yes.
Good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I jolly well hope I can stay in Scotland, because I can't stand living in England. There's too many people. I tell you what, though, it's just that I think England is obviously more crowded in the built-up areas, but places, I suppose there are more remote places. I just like the pace of life here more. And I like the politics more up here as well.
Yeah.
In general, I think Scotland is a lot more receptive to foreigners, as it were.
Yes, maybe I would have had a much harder time when I decided to move to England. Yes,
quite possibly.
But when you have that sort of attitude of, well, you were born here and that person was born there, so you're more important than that person here. It just makes no sense to me.
No.
Well, I think we're all agreed on that.
Yes,
that's good. But there'll still be people that will go, oh, but they did this thing once. And I think it's... Okay, this is going to go on too long.
That's a statement of intent.
I want to talk briefly about Fraser Anning.
Who the hell is Fraser Anning?
Do you remember the story of after the New Zealand mosque shooting, there was an Australian politician speaking and someone egged them?
Oh, yes, yep. Yes.
They are the politician that got egged, and the reason for that was that they basically ended up turning it around to blame the Muslims that they were being attacked. That they were saying there's a lot of Muslims immigrating here, so it's just reasonable. Whilst I condemn the action of this person, the reason that this happened is because people moved here. No.
Yes,
I don't understand how that has anything to do with being a Muslim, though. I mean, surely his point should have been more about where they were from than what their religious beliefs were. But
yeah, but by Muslim they generally mean from the Middle East.
Yeah.
Even though that's not always accurate.
yeah,
But
one day the human race will grow up.
you hope
Do
so.
you think so?
We might be dead before then.
Well, some of us maybe.
No. No, what I've learned in that 47 years that I'm on this.
Are you the same age as me?
No, sorry, I'm 46.
Oh, now I feel old now.
Yeah, one whole year older. Yes.
He's actually a grandpa.
No, it's just what I've learned is history repeats,
Yeah. hmm
which is quite often a good thing. It is, but definitely not always.
Oh, I started making a point earlier and I didn't actually finish it.
Oh, that guy, the Australian guy.
No, that point. But the point I was trying to make earlier, with historical racism, with that, it's a game called Kingdom Come Deliverance. I did a video on it, and it tries to be as realistic as possible. And there's quite a lot of stigma. Well, first of all, around Jews, but the other stigmas around Germans. Weirdly, there's also another stigma around people they call Cumans, which are from modern day Romania and are sort of descended from the Mongols, apparently.
Uh-huh.
So they sort of have this idea of, oh, well, these people are savages. They cut off people's ears.
All of this, I would say, because when you mentioned Bohemia, it reminded me of a true story that Star Stuff was telling me about one of the design websites that she is a member of had to change or decided to change the name of one of their products because they had lots of complaints because it had the word gypsy in it.
Right.
And people were taking offense at it, claiming that it was racist because they were gypsy themed designs.
Right.
But I would say it's actually complimentary, that, because it's kind of celebrating a culture.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of uncertainty around the terminology to use with... I think the politically correct term generally for people that want to be safe is travellers, but I think quite a lot of them just take on gypsy and wear it with pride. I'm not sure if it was originally used as an insult or was just the actual.
No, I'm not sure about that, actually.
I think it might well be is that gypsy is not a nice word to use. Like gypsy is probably the same word as nigger.
All right, because I mean, I've never made that connection. I've never seen it as an insulting, but it's never been relevant to me because I don't know.
But there you go. I don't know. Yeah.
All I would say in summing up is that I think it suits certainly a lot of politicians and people in power, certainly in the media as well.
It's a scapegoat.
To divide the population.
It's basically
and
saying,
keep them occupied with some kind of debate that distracts them from
basically them,
some of the stuff that they're... Do you know what I mean? They can get away with a lot more if people are distracted.
It's basically them saying, the country's shit right now. That's not my fault, not the actual government's fault. That's these people coming in ruining it. And that's the same sort of language that the Nazis used. So how people aren't actually seeing through this and going, hang on, you're just a shit government. That's why a country's gone to shit. Instead of actually just blaming innocent people that have just come to your country which they probably think is a great place, and that's why they're moving there. Like you've said, Pate, you're an Anglophile.
What? Am I an Anglophile?
I swear you said you were an Anglophile at some point.
What's that?
No, I didn't. I don't think I said that.
Hang on. I swear it's on Twitter as well.
Oh, but what?
I don't know.
Social media is coming back to haunt you.
Oh, dearie me. Yeah, that's why I have a love-hate relationship with social media.
Hang on.
Or maybe I've said that.
I'm just worried slightly that in the process of typing in your name into Twitter, a hashtag came up that said P-tape.
P-tape. Oh, but that's the thing is with
That's
my
to do
name.
with Trump.
Okay.
But that's the problem with my name is I was not getting emails in my first job that I had in.
We've discussed this on the podcast before.
Yes, yeah, I've said that. Yes, for exactly that reason. Yes, because mine.
Yeah, if you want to know what that's about, listeners, go back and listen to.
I think it was podcasts.
Episode 30.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we should be winding up because we've been at it about an hour and 3/4 now.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
But
yeah, don't blame people for things that they have no control over.
be nice to people. Welcome
Don't be a dick.
Yeah. We've got
And
3 people here that are born in different countries, technically. Maybe not different nations as defined by the United Nations, but I was born in England, you were born in Scotland, Pate was born in the Netherlands. I got it right.
Well done.
you got it right. Wow, I'm impressed.
I've learned something today.
Haha.
Wonder if I'll remember it tomorrow.
Probably not.
You can blame Belgium for that.
Why?
Stella.
Ha!
Well, you're not drinking that much that you'd forget what happened yesterday, would you?
No, but
We've only got 2 left.
Mind you, it could have well have been Belgium anyway, where I was born.
all right.
But that's the thing, like, a couple of miles difference for some people. And
Yes.
there's whole new connotations attached to you. Especially like in Ireland, whether you were born on the Northern Ireland side or on the Ireland side, makes a whole difference about who you're seen as, basically. Whether you actually immigrate across the border. I'm sorry, I'm going on again.
Just thinking, though, I don't want to risk starting it up again, but is the Vatican City fully populated by immigrants?
Yeah, I don't think, because
I'm assuming they don't have a hospital there, or people haven't been born there.
well, no, because they're not actually allowed to have sex. I mean, technically, they still fuck little boys, but
Yeah, but that's not going to result in any births.
Oh man, come on. And you want to wrap up this podcast?
Yeah, I think we should maybe, yeah.
officially, they're not allowed to have sex, so there can't actually be any people that are born in the Vatican City. It's
Stop poking fun at other people.
I see what you did.
Nobody saw what he did, though.
It's got a population of 800 and none of them were actually born there, so it's an entire country of immigrants. But
Right.
those are immigrants that are probably cunts. But not because of where they're from.
Let's stop. Please let me out.
Sure, fine, I'll end up.
You'll end up.
Shut up. I'll finish up.
Anything else you want to say, Pate?
Oh man.
What's next?
Yeah, probably not. I can go on for a long time more as this, but for the
Hashtag praise Ranning as cock.
Good.
I agree. Yes. Yes. No. For in the case of immigration, is this? People for the people that hate immigrants. I would say think twice and look around your life and what you see.
Because it's always that
We're all immigrants.
the
at
people
some point.
actually exposed to immigrants hate them a lot less. That probably says a lot. It's
What-
more the
no,
representation that you're scared of immigrants.
Yes, and what you're experiencing from day in day out is all because the good things that you're experiencing is all because of immigration
And
and migration.
always, as always, think about the messages that the media and the politicians through the media are sending out and what their agendas are.
And also, especially with refugees, just try for a second to put yourself in their shoes. Have
Yes,
a bit of empathy.
If they still have shoes.
They might not. They might be
Ooh,
blown to pieces.
that's a bit on the edge, Paul.
They still have legs.
Oh man, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Fuck you. I'm the new Frankie Boyle.
What do you call a man with no arms or legs in the sea?
Nothing, because when you call him, he wouldn't come.
I was going to say Bob, but
There's no use to give him a name. You say, hey, you, come here.
oh dear.
Fuck's sake.
What do you call a fly with no with no wings?
Walk.
A walk, yes.
What do you call a pig with no eyes? Pig.
What a porn star started calling their vaginas.
Don't know.
The Gaza Strip. An area so brutally pummeled that no child could ever hope to crawl out of it.
Jesus Christ.
Should we end the podcast? That is a Frankie Boyle
now.
joke.
End it right now. Good. Yes.
We're just going to start trying to get more and more offensive as we go on. But yes, don't... We said our final messages. We're just dragging this on now, aren't we?
Yeah, how do we get out?
Going after the...
Where's the exit?
Do the outro. Okay, so have we said everything we want to say?
Yeah.
I've said what I wanted to say, yes.
Okay, cool.
What's the next episode on?
Consciousness?
Interesting.
Should we fall asleep for that episode?
Possibly. Right, so you have been...
I have been Firebolt.
I've been the Orbiter.
And I've been Peetronics.
And this has been episode 34 of Breaking Bollocks. Immigration. Bye. Bye.
Howdo.
What?
How do?
That's what they say in Yorkshire to say hello. How do? As in, how you doing?
So that was in the part of the Netherlands where I come from, is to say bye.
So that could get confusing.
So in Dutch you would say something like tot ziens, but with the dialect that we're talking, you would say houdoe.
Ah.
So, and that translates in English literally as keep yourself well.
I see.
Yes.
Should we finish off with a joke?
Oh, hang on.
Did we not do enough jokes already?
No, probably.
There's this funny thing about...
are you starting again?
No, Nigel Farage's name. I think it's Malaysian. Farage actually means something like
Spelt
shit.
G-E.
Yeah, but in the actual language, it's spelled with a J. It just sounds like Farage. Yeah, it means vagina in Malay.
Farage is Malaysian for vagina.
And with that, we shall end this podcast.
Yep.
Yes.
And stop the recording.
This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast Network.